You know, the past 14 days online has probably been the most interesting in terms of conversations about the gaming industry, probably since the early 2010s, when Gamergate was a huge turning point. Now, look, I'm not going to bring that up. It's been about 10 plus years already, and we all have PTSD from it still. But the thing is, we watched as two video games came out 7 days apart. And one game was loved and paraded around by the gaming media as the best game they've ever actually played, even though we can see the player counts and even the sales tell a vastly different story. While at the opposite end, 7 days later, we see a game that the media has now been calling mediocre, or giving your typical 7 good rating, which is basically just given out like candy to every other game that doesn't really hit the member berries mark like they used to. That's right, we are talking about two specific games, Mixtape and Subnautica 2. Now, here's the thing though. Both of these games are completely out of my scope of what I actually like to enjoy. What I like to talk about though is the actual disconnect between the gaming media and you, the literal gamer, the people who have the money to play the video games. And yet for some reason, we are watching in real time as the media have no clue what people actually want to play. And even someone like me, who has no stake in either game, apparently still gets dragged through the mud. Who would have thought of that? You see, because last week I tweeted this: Mixtape has the right to exist in the medium of video games. However, I think what this game also represents is the vast disconnect between gamers themselves and the gaming journalists who review video games. Now, I'm going to be real. I had no idea that little tweet of mine would gain traction like that and set off a lot of people getting angry at me, calling me a chud, apparently, trying to figure out my political leanings, even though I don't discuss politics pretty much at all whatsoever on either of my channels, and at the same time, basically trying to say that I'm wrong because they're using the Steam reviews being overwhelmingly positive. But the thing is, Mixtape has been part of a massive amount of controversy, being less of a game and more of a movie, where people can just sit there and put their controller down for the majority of the time and not even play the video game, while having very minimal interaction between what's happening in the game itself and you, the actual player. And I think that's really the big disconnect between all of this. My big issue and concern is how the gaming industry and the journalists themselves parade a game like this around, even though all it really does is just use a lot of classic music that fit the right actual member berry chord on a lot of the actual reviewers, and just trying to pine at their heartstrings through nostalgia, looking back at a better time, even though this would have more than likely been better off as a Netflix kind of like one-shot show rather than an actual game itself. I mean, think about it from this perspective. You have practically every major media outlet sucking off a game like Mixtape. Hell, here's just one review from Eurogamer, with them on Twitter saying this: Mixtape is earnest, cringe, and totally misunderstood. In other words, this is the perfect teen video game. Our review, 4 out of 5 stars. Here's IGN on Twitter saying this: a musical delight from start to finish. Mixtape sets a new standard for coming-of-age stories in video games, and does so with a masterful sense of style. Our 10 out of 10 review. And you can see the same amount of actual glazing this game has been getting from practically every single major journalist site out there. And when you look at the player counts on Steam, things are a little bit different, and dare I even say completely out of touch in terms of what gamers in fact want in their video games. Yet turn around and a game like Subnautica 2 comes out, and the opposite in fact happens. With IGN on Twitter saying this: Subnautica 2 has sold 2 million copies within 12 hours of its early access launch. Developer Unknown Worlds has announced. It's a huge start for the underwater survival and crafting adventure game after a turbulent road to release. Now, here's the funny part about that. Subnautica 2 sold 2 million copies within the first few hours of its game being launched, while Mixtape probably hasn't even gotten anywhere close to that. Probably not even a percentage or a fraction of that either. Yet IGN, when they made their review, gave the game a 7. No, I'm not kidding. They literally gave the game an actual 7 out of 10. with the TLDR saying this: "It's pretty impressive that wading through the shallow tides of Subnautica 2's early access debut is as fun as it is already, and that should be a great sign of things to come. But I also wouldn't blame anyone for waiting for these waters to rise a bit longer before getting their feet wet." Oh, are we doing the 7 out of 10 too much water joke again, IGN? Yeah. Clearly, something is actually off, with a game having almost 500,000 players within a game's launch, getting a 7 out of 10, and people still playing that title days after it's been released, selling over 2 million copies, even though it's been probably through the most insane publisher issue lawsuit I've honestly ever seen, where the CEO is trying to use ChatGPT on how to find out ways of not paying their developers, which that's a whole other story for another day, which is actually pretty crazy when you think about it. But the thing is, this isn't the first time this has actually happened. In fact, Travis of IGN has done this exact same thing before. He was the exact same reviewer who gave Crimson Desert a 6 out of 10, even though that review didn't really bode over so well online, and a lot of people had their own conversations about this. I truly stop and think to myself, what is it going to take for a game reviewer to actually understand what a gamer in fact is looking for? And that's really what I've been posing to myself the last couple of days before making this video. I've been watching over and over again as game reviewers seem to want less mechanics, they seem to want less gameplay, and they want more story and more cinematic adventures, which, hey, if you want that kind of game, that's perfectly fine. I'm not trying to poo-poo on your parade. That's cool. You know what I mean? If you want to play that kind of game, go for it. But the thing is, it really is concerning to me how the vast majority of gamers are completely disconnected from the media outlets that truly want our clicks, want our views, and want us to go ahead to their websites and treat them with a modicum amount of respect and even trust. But how can we trust a gaming website for their reviews when everything is so completely inconsistent? Practically every single time, if you think about it. Whether it's game reviewers not understanding a game's mechanics, or their arguments drifting off into more political things which have nothing to do with the game at all. Like, what are we even doing here right now? And who are these actual articles and reviews in fact for? Definitely not for people that just want to play the video game and just want information about how the game plays and whether or not their amount of actual money is going to be worth it to buy the game in the first place. It's almost like game reviewers are just trying to just rage bait people now and truly figure out ways of getting clicks onto their website, not by providing good, honest reviews and feedback and giving the players and the gamers exactly what they're looking for, but by trying to rage bait people and trying to say, well, if you don't like this game, you're a chud apparently, or you're in some weird political camp, or they're going to just dismiss whatever kind of criticism you have about them simply by waving their hand in front of you and completely washing you away. I mean, just look at this tweet from Polygon. Or on Twitter, they said this: "You aren't supposed to like the hero of mixtape." First of all, that like to dislike ratio is absolutely insane. And second of all, friend of the channel Spectre, literally ratioing Polygon has to be one of the funniest things I've also ever seen. But it's actually kind of absurd when you think about it. I'm not mad that a game like Mixtape exists. If you want to play that kind of game, go right ahead. But the thing is, when a video game-ass video game comes out, and the game reviewer has no idea what they're talking about, doesn't understand the genre, doesn't like the genre, and then they're assigned to review that game, what are we even doing right now? Why are journalists even thinking about this in the first place? And why are any of these gaming outlets actually doing this at all to their own users and even readers? Whatever's left of them, if you ask me. Watching as so many media outlets are completely out of touch and out of time, even Hall & Oates would make a song about them, it clearly goes to show that what people actually want and what game journals want couldn't be a bigger disconnect than what we're seeing in fact right now. It almost feels like they're the reason why we constantly get those same third-person, cover-based action-adventure games with stealth elements over and over and over again. The same Uncharted's, the same Last of Us's, the same Ghost of Tsushima's. All simple, cookie-cutter gameplay that practically everybody's already been used to that makes the entire gaming industry feel like a bore and a chore to play through. It truly feels like game journals are really just the people that wanted to get into mainstream news outlets and media centers and really just weren't able to hack it, so they got placed into video games instead, and it seems like they're almost even resentful about it in some really weird, faceted way. It's actually kind of concerning when you think about it, because this is the medium that a lot of people truly enjoy, that they have their entire identity a part of, and really think to themselves that it's what they want out of their hobby. Yet at the same time, there's some really weird pencil-necked dweeb trying to tell you that your tastes are bad and uncultured. And because of that, the games that you like aren't the ones you should be playing. And what you should be playing instead are what they like. When in reality, what they like could have been just as well a Netflix special. I mean, here's Fleekazoid on Twitter saying this: maybe if Subnautica 2 had a tongue-battling minigame with fish in it, it could have gotten a higher score, showing the actual Steam charts of Mixtape having 2,000 players at an all-time 5-day peak, while Subnautica having an all-time player peak of almost 500,000 players, and IGN's 7 out of 10 review. Here's Dean Takahashi saying this: Mixtape is awesome, yet getting community noted and being told, context, this is the guy responsible for the infamous Cuphead video. You know, the one where he fails to get through the tutorial. And the more I see this, the more it kind of just becomes apparent in my mind. Gaming journalists, for the majority of them, now there are a few that are very good. I think Gene Park is one of them. Even though he liked Mixtape, a lot of his reviews are in fact very well written and really put together incredibly well. I would say Destin Legary being another good reviewer. Somebody who I think has a lot of really good points when he makes reviews, even though I don't always agree with them, is really able to convey why he's scoring a game a specific way, but also provides the reasoning behind that actual score. I think what we're seeing right now is that many other game journals inside this medium actually don't like video games. And what they really want to do is either review movies or get into politics. And that's why you see this really weird dichotomy and split, not only between the gaming user base, you and I, the regular people, and also the gaming journalists who consistently talk about things that we feel don't make a lot of sense or aren't even part of the conversation. But what I think this truly shows is not only the disconnect between the actual users and the gaming media, but also why so many people are in fact abandoning classic games journalism and looking for people like YouTubers, Twitch streamers, and everyone else. Having a clearer, simpler definition of what a game in fact plays like, looks like, and a true experience of how the game actually functions is a far better indicator of whether or not someone will truly enjoy a video game, more so than just someone writing an actual review and giving it a really awkward score and not truly defining exactly why they decided to put it that way. You can go around and look at the actual streamers and reviewers of Mixtape on YouTube and see a massive difference between them and the gaming journalists. And the same thing applies with people who are playing Crimson Desert like myself, and also the reviewers of Crimson Desert from the games media. It almost feels like games journalists don't like video games, and what they're trying to do is to change the medium itself to what they feel would be more beneficial for them. More cinematics, more movie-like, less gameplay, less actual functionality, and not really going through and understanding what makes a video game so enticing to play. You know, the thing you're supposed to do with a video game. Press the actual buttons. That's kind of a thing. With Emerald Apple on Twitter saying this: what the fuck is games journalism anymore? Almost 500,000 players within a couple of hours on launch day for Subnautica 2, and it only gets a 7 out of 10. Meanwhile, Mixtape is basically dead despite getting a 10 out of 10. Does anyone still take IGN seriously anymore? Do they even get any traffic other than people clipping their website just to mock them? Is it because Subnautica added a white person as their character to play? That's why they're shitting on it, isn't it? The thing is, though, what we're watching right now is how the gaming media is trying to influence the gaming industry itself and even influence you as to the kind of games you should be playing. And I think what they're experiencing at this moment in time is the fact that they're irrelevant, and they're clawing, scratching, and screeching at every opportunity to try and make you click on their website, look at their review, or see why they gave it a lower score than what you would actually expect, or why they gave a game that you don't think deserves a score a higher one as well. And this kind of play is exactly what's going to ruin that industry overall. And the problem with that is this. We saw it happen with Crimson Desert, where Pearl Abyss's stock price plummeted because the Metacritic review scores weren't as high as they wanted them to be. Yet it turns around that Metacritic really doesn't matter at all when the game sells 2 million copies in just a couple of days as well. And I'm sure the same will happen with Subnautica 2 devs on top of that. The fact that game journals have all this power, yet choose to wield it in a completely irresponsible manner, is exactly what I think the problem truly is between the gaming industry and the users themselves. It also completely explains why so many people are leaving these websites to try and look for reviews and going to their favorite YouTuber instead, getting more information from someone who has a similar taste and style of game they like to play, rather than looking for some no-name person behind an actual screenshot of IGN who could review any game at any time, not even like the genre, have zero personality, and at the same time just totally shit on the game that you were really looking forward to, even though every other person you know is incredibly excited about that title or is buying it non-stop. Subnautica 2, for example. I'm pretty sure 500,000 people are a far better barometer than some schmuck at IGN giving the game a 7 out of 10. And even though I'm not a big fan of using the actual player count meme as a way to determine whether or not a game is good, it is a better barometer and indicator of whether or not a game is worth my time, mostly because I can see from so many other people online playing something that, hey, hold on, there might be something there that I may have missed or I may not really be into, and maybe giving my couple of bucks for a few hours to test it before I refund it would be a better idea than listening to somebody on IGN or any other gaming website shit on a game because it has too many mechanics and just completely walk away from that title whatsoever. And I think that is exactly what these game journalists want. They want the control. They want the ability to give you their opinion and use that opinion as a barometer and a way of determining what games succeed and what games in fact fail. Yet the opposite is actually happening in real time. Subnautica is succeeding while Mixtape is failing, apparently. And the more this kind of stuff keeps happening, the more the game industry and game journals keep missing the mark on reviews of video games while being completely incapable of determining whether or not a game would be hitting specific chords for users, really goes to show that what we're looking at is an actual racket in the gaming industry. Everything being planned together, everyone being in cahoots, and putting everything into perspective really goes to show that maybe the gaming industry and gaming journos don't really know what they're talking about and don't even like video games. But you know what? I want to hear what you guys got to say about this in the comments section down below. Do you think game journos are completely out of touch, or do you think they're doing this completely on purpose, being incapable of understanding what you or I, the actual consumer, are truly looking for in a game review? I want to hear what you guys got to say. If you want to see more of this kind of content, though, subscribe. We're on our way to 10K subs. And also, don't forget to catch the live streams here every single day, 10:30 a.m. Eastern. They're a hell of a lot of fun. We get to hang out, and trust me, you'll love it. With all that being said, though, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great one, and I'll see you guys next time.